Hi all, welcome to the channel CloudKnowledge. Today in this video, we'll study about Azure Cosmos DB APIs. So in total, we have 6 APIs now. Earlier there used to be 5 APIs, and along with the APIs, we'll create a Cosmos DB account using the NoSQL API. So earlier there used to be only 5 APIs, and the name for the NoSQL API used to be Core SQL API. They have recently changed the name to NoSQL, then MongoDB, Cassandra, Gremlin, Table, and they have recently introduced PostgreSQL API too. So this video is in continuation to the first video, which was the introduction to Azure Cosmos DB. And here also we have this brief definition about Cosmos DB, which is a fully managed NoSQL database for modern app development. It takes data administration off your hands with automatic management, updates, and patching. Also handles capacity management with cost-effective serverless and automatic scaling options that respond to application needs to match capacity with demand. So, as I said, there are now total 6 APIs. So this is November 2022 and we have currently 6 APIs, and the name for the Core SQL API has now changed to NoSQL API. Okay, so the different APIs in Cosmos DB, this page, the official documentation page by Microsoft for Cosmos DB documentation, herein under the overview section, choose an API is a section where you can read about which API will meet your requirement, and then accordingly you can select the different APIs, okay, offered by the Cosmos DB. So what you have to consider. So the considerations while choosing the API is mentioned here, and if you go down, it has separate sections for all the 6 APIs. So we'll be creating the NoSQL Cosmos DB account. The Azure Cosmos DB API for NoSQL stores the data in the document format. It offers the best end-to-end experience as we have full control over the interface, service, and the SDK client libraries. Any new feature that is rolled out to the Cosmos DB is first available on API for NoSQL accounts. Okay. NoSQL accounts provide support for querying items using the SQL, that is structured query language syntax, one of the most familiar and popular query languages to query JSON objects. To learn more, we have a hyperlink here. If you're migrating from other databases such as Oracle, DynamoDB, HBase, etc., and if you want to use the modernized technologies to build your apps, API for NoSQL is the recommended option. API for NoSQL supports analytics and offers performance isolation between operational and analytical workloads. So now let's go to the portal and create a NoSQL Cosmos DB account. So let's click on resource creation and we'll search for Cosmos in the marketplace. And the very first option is Azure Cosmos DB. We'll then click on create. And when we click on create, it will show us the 6 different APIs. Okay. So the very first is shown as Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, then MongoDB, Cassandra, Table, Gremlin, and PostgreSQL. If we go back to the documentation and if you browse down, okay, where we have the section Get Started with Azure Cosmos DB NoSQL API, we'll click on it. So this section will give you a quick start about Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL client library for .NET. And here if you go down, further down, so the very first page here displays to create the resource. So here you can see that the screenshot which is pasted here is still not updated by the team. So it shows us the Core SQL recommended API, then MongoDB, Cassandra, Table, and Gremlin. Postgres is not here in the screenshot, so they need to update this document. So that's what I was saying, that earlier it used to be 5 APIs and the NoSQL API was previously named as Core SQL. Okay, so let's go back to the portal and we'll be quickly creating Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. Let's create it. So when you click on create, it will show you the first section, which is create Cosmos DB account for NoSQL and the basics tab. In the basics tab, first thing is your subscription. It will be auto-populated. Then resource group. Resource group we already have, so we'll select the resource group where we want to create this account. Then the account name, let's name it CloudKnowledge. Okay. Cosmos NoSQL. So this is our Cosmos NoSQL API account. So the location, we'll leave it as is. You can change it as per your need. Then the capacity mode. This is important. If you click on learn more about capacity mode, it will redirect you to this page. Let the page open. How to choose between the provision throughput and serverless. It offers us two options. And if you go further down here in documentation, it says that it is best suitable, the provision throughput, for the traffic requiring predictable performance, and serverless is suited for workloads with intermittent or unpredictable traffic and low average to peak traffic ratio. So for development purpose, we can use or we can go for serverless, and for actual traffic where we have the predictable performance, we can go for the provision throughput. It has other features too, like geo distribution, maximum storage per container, performance, billing model, etc. So as per your requirement, you can choose the capacity mode. Then for this demo, we'll let this be selected as provision throughput, because once we click on serverless, the other options are disabled from here. You can see, okay, this limit total account throughput is disabled. And if you go to the global distribution tab, also affected by selecting the capacity mode. If it is provision throughput, it will show us the global distribution to be geo redundancy. Okay, enable the global distribution on your account by pairing West US with the East US. You can add more regions to your account later. Okay, multi-region writes. Multi-region write option is the capability allows you to take advantage of the provision throughput for your database and containers across the globe. Okay, you can write your data to different regions across the globe. Okay, and if you have selected serverless, if you go to the global distribution, it will not be there. Okay, so this setting is only present when you have the capacity moved as provision throughput. So for this example, we'll be taking provision throughput, and next we'll go to the global distribution. So here we'll enable the geo redundancy and multi-region writes option. The very important point to note here is that this will bear you extra cost. So if you're going to enable another write region or geo redundancy, it will create replica of your database account into those regions. So it will bear you the cost. So be careful while selecting geo redundancy, multi-region writes, or the global distribution options. Then next we'll go to the networking section. And here we have the connectivity method, whether it should be accessible through all networks, public endpoint, private endpoint. For this example, we'll be taking all networks because this is just for demo purpose. You can set private endpoint too. Then in the backup policy, we have the different options available here. So as per your need, you can enable the 3 different backup policies which is offered here: periodic, continuous 30 days, and here you can set the interval and the retention too. And backup storage redundancy is also geo or local redundant. So as per your need, you can choose the storage redundancy. Then comes the encryption. Okay, so all the data in Cosmos DB account is auto encrypted. It protects your data at rest by seemingly encrypting your data, and it's written in our data centers and automatically decrypting it for you to access it. So the data is stored in encrypted form only at the data centers. By default, Azure Cosmos DB account is encrypted at rest using the service managed key. Okay, SMK. At the moment, you'll not be able to switch back to the SMK after opting into CMK. So if you have set it to CMK, you cannot change it back to the SMK at the moment. Okay, this functionality is not there. So you have to consider either SMK or CMK. Then go to the tags. If you have some tags to create, you can add it. This is optional. Then review and create section, you'll go and it will validate the settings which you have configured. If the validation is success, it will show you the validation success, and then you can create. And after clicking on the create option, you'll see that the deployment is in progress here in the notifications section, and the main page will display that your resource is in the process of deployment. So let's wait for the deployment to complete, and then we'll check out the DB account which is created for us. So after a few minutes, you can see that the deployment is complete. Here it is shown, and we can click on go to resource, to see the Cosmos DB account created. It will say, congratulations, your Cosmos DB account was created. And here we have the different options to create items container, okay, to .NET and other languages. Then if we go to the overview section, we can see the different options or the configurations which we have selected during creation of it. Here we have the request unit for calculation of the throughput, read and write regions which we have selected. We have the global distribution also enabled. So here if you go to the left section, we have the option to replicate the data globally. When we click on replicate the data globally, we have the option to select the different regions. So here in this page, replicate data globally, we have this configure regions for multi-region write. So multi-region write, if it is enabled, we can select different regions to replicate our data globally. So here's the globe and different regions which are present to replicate the data. So this was the brief intro about creating the NoSQL DB account of Cosmos DB. So next in the upcoming videos, we'll further go down into the Cosmos DB NoSQL account and we'll create the documents. So thank you for watching the video. Happy learning to all. Bye.